All right, where do I begin? I know this is old news, but I kind of have a history with this game, and I figure I might as well talk about it. A history with the IP in general. Basic synopsis is that I love Evil Dead. Evil Dead was one of my favorite horror movies to watch growing up as a child. I remember watching Evil Dead 1 and 2 and just enjoying Deadites getting torn to pieces. The slapstick sort of vibe going with some of the Deadites being like absolutely fucking crazy and nuts and eyeballs melting. I remember the gore everywhere. Holy shit, man. It was disturbing, but I loved it. It was a disturbing piece of horror criteria that I enjoyed seeing Bruce Campbell absolutely just torn to his core and cutting off his hand and putting a chainsaw on it. It was the coolest shit I ever seen. We fast forward to now where I was excited for Evil Dead the game, and I remember that first trailer. I think I saw it at like fucking some game event. I can't recall. I really wish I did. And I just remember saying, this is badass. It brings the nostalgia vibe out. You got Bruce Campbell back as Ash Williams, Les Rock, Hell to the King. And then played the game a little bit, enjoyed that, gave it like a 8 or a 7. I just don't even solemnly remember what the number was, but I know it was high. And I know I gave it praise. And I know I was so excited to get the word out there, word of mouth, got my friends to buy this game and play it with me on a regular basis. And we had a lot of fun with it, but there was one problem that was going on. And it's about the community. And it's about their feedback not being vital to Saber Interactive, right? Now, there's been patches and everything, new characters and things they put in the game, demons, right? Stages. All that stuff is cool. But there's one issue they could never figure out, and the community could never figure out why they weren't listening either. And it's due to the balancing. Every time on every Reddit post, everywhere I would see it, even my own community was complaining about these issues. It was, please nerf some of the demons, or please nerf some of the survivors. It's way too much. It's never balanced right. Each time you put out a balanced patch, you nerf like people into the ground and then you buff unnecessary characters. Stop doing that. You're ruining the meta. What are you doing? I saw that each and every single time. And there was two things why I thought this game would die out on future content. Number one is that Friday the 13th, that game it had a wholesale license, right? So when that license died and they said, oh, we're not going to do any more content and the game is going to have the plug pulled, I suspected the same fate for Evil Dead, because this is a asymmetrical multiplayer experience. Always online, right? The main component, online. Single player missions, yeah, they exist. I forgot if they're offline or online. The main thing you're playing this game for is the online content. So I knew that the plug would get pulled eventually for some reason, as well as the fact that in Mortal Kombat 11, it was supposed to be Ash Williams in that game and they pulled him last minute. And I think it was all due to licensing. And then the second part of why I thought this game was probably going to die in the future is because of the fate of asymmetrical horror multiplayer experiences. Look, Dead by Daylight is king of the mountain for asymmetrical multiplayer horror experiences. If it's not Dead by Daylight, most of the casual fans of multiplayer horror, they do not care. Dead by Daylight is like the Fortnite of horror multiplayer right now, and that's all people really play a lot, and they get content and support, feedback, patches. They get that a lot. I was one of the ones that was like, I think there can be competitors in this market. If you do something varied enough and make it fun, you can probably last. You probably won't have the same longevity as Dead by Daylight, but you can have something. You can have something there that is fundamental and enjoyable if you stay on the curve. I mean, Texas Chainsaw which is a game I'm going to review on this channel. That game is fun, and it has players, and it's an overall good time. However, that being said, because Asymmetrical needs the pillars of being updated constantly and balanced right constantly, if any of those cogs fail in the system, then the fan base is going to be upset. There's going to be complaints. There's going to be a massacre in the middle of the streets if you don't provide to them to keep that multiplayer alive. And if there's any stoppage or if there is imbalances, guess what happens? People will drop your multiplayer and they will move on. I guarantee it. And then we have this sad, sad message to the community, to everyone at large who enjoyed this game. To the Evil Dead community. Today, we have made the decision to not pursue the development of new content for Evil Dead the game. We also confirmed that we will not be releasing a Nintendo Switch version of the game. We will keep the servers up for the foreseeable future and address any major issues that arise. On behalf of the entire team at Saber, thank you for all the groovy times and your continued support. All this means to me is that if you really love this game, if you really care for it, you better squeeze every ounce of fun out of this game before the servers are pulled. It's disappointing. And it all goes back to what I said previously. They did not listen to the feedback and community enough. And the numbers kept dwindling more and more and more. And the fact that, there was active content in development, turns out this game probably didn't pan out that well according to what they were seeing on the metrics. It's the only reason. And the sales probably reflected that too. And the word of mouth is important. So when people were complaining about the idea that, oh shit, they aren't listening to our content, they aren't listening to our feedback, they don't care about how they balance this game, they just do what they want, we're done, we're walking away. Texas Chainsaw is the new asymmetrical multiplayer darling, and Dead by Daylight is still king of the mountain. We don't care. And this is the fate of a lot of asymmetrical horror games when it turns out that the developers, they do not give a shit. They end up meeting the fate of the dodo and flying away into a burning sunset. Because when you don't care and you don't balance the game and there's imperfections, I remember the Elegos Demon completely stun locking the fuck out of me, and I got so tired of it. I just felt that, oh my god, this is not fun. This meta is not fun. And the more they keep nerfing characters and doing all this stuff and not taking things into consideration, the more frustrating it got. And I'm sure, Demon Survivor, I'm sure people on both sides had a point. They had a point of how this meta was going. And Saber was just not providing enough on that front. They were not being transparent. I mean, I'll give it to the Texas Chainsaw devs. Even though they cut off the crossplay, they were updating like every week. Every singular week, update after update after update. That's how you gotta be. You gotta be as transparent as possible if you're starting out to get and keep and maintain those players, because people will move on rather quickly. Nintendo Switch people, you are screwed. If you were looking forward to a port on the go, on your toilet, you're not getting that. It's over. It's a wrap for all future content. And I do believe after some time, those servers, they're probably paying money for them. They're probably putting dollar after dollar into keeping those maintained. Don't expect those to be up quite long, because if they killed off the Friday the 13th servers on the other side of the fence, they will definitely kill this off, no problem. You're going to see the same message again saying that, oh, well, I'm sorry, we're pulling the plug on the servers. And guess what? After that, Your disc is going to be a paperweight. It's going to be a paperweight. That is the downfall of asymmetrical horror multiplayer games when they don't care. Because once it's a paperweight, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the disc? Play frisbee? Football? I don't know. Basketball? Slam dunk? Maybe snap your disc in half like BG did to Uncharted 3. Inside joke, but still, maybe do that. Right? Like, oh my god. I know this is a bigger slap in the face to people who wanted more single player missions. They wanted the game to have some sort of offline longevity, and now you might not even be getting that anymore. Since the game is like just done. Just done. I don't know the state of the balance as it is now, but I still assume it's not that great. And I also assume not many people are playing this game anymore due to this announcement. I guarantee you they moved on to, like I said, Texas Chainsaw or Dead by Daylight. This is a dark time for asymmetrical horror multiplayer experiences because right now, at this point, and everything I talked about, any game can end up like this in this situation, whether it's losing the license or simply put, the game dying off and the online is cut like a year or two later. It is astoundingly disappointing, and I just wish and I hope that developers learn from this. They take this as a learning experience and they know the do's and don'ts of what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do to keep a game afloat and going. It sucks. It's another bad news bears video, unfortunately, but it's something that needed to be talked about because this is why, and I see this in my horror Discord, this is why a lot of people are worried about those upstarts, up and coming asymmetrical horror games, because if they don't care, they're just going to get stomped by the competition and they will stand no chance if they don't stand out. And I agree with that. I 100% agree. There is no disagreements here from me upon hearing that information because it is true. I heard, and this is like a little bit off kilter, but I heard that VHS, Video Horror Society, they had some egregious terms of service and people didn't like it because apparently in order to record the game and do footage as a streamer, there was limitations on that in the terms of service that sometimes, you know, well, I would say like 100% of the time, maybe like 99% of the time, people will skim over the TOS. But if there was some streamer issues in there and you couldn't record, then that was the death of that game, and they announced that pretty swiftly, and people were like, what the fuck? And therefore the numbers doesn't migrate over after the beta, and then guess what happened? They pulled the plug. All because of their own mishap. What is the solution to this problem? So first and foremost, I'm going to get into this and then I'm going to end the video. I think the solution is to listen to the feedback and the meta if you have something good. Always look at exploits, cheating, patch the game. Try to keep it balanced. I know it's hard when you add new characters because you're always going to find something broken, but at least try. Try is the right word. Then think about your offline community. What's going to happen in the future, maybe like in a few years. I say like 5 years, 10 years. What is the future outlook you want to have for the game? Because once you decide to cut the servers, it's over. That community's like, what are they going to play? It's done. You got to think about what's at stake for the long term. And I would say one remedy to this, because I talked about this with the death of the traditional multiplayer, have a single player to it. Please. You know, if you want to experiment, just make a tacked on multiplayer, see where it goes. If it's popular, keep going with it. If not, the single player is always there. That story is always everlasting. It's not going anywhere. Evil Dead is the perfect sort of pot to have a story mode. They've done Evil Dead games before with single player. Evil Dead Regeneration, Hail to the King. There's Evil Dead games that exist that were single player games, and I guarantee you, at least the disc is not a frisbee after it's all said and done. At least they have a campaign you can go back and replay time and time again, over and over again, and not worry about most of the features being wiped completely just because it's online only. That's one issue you have to solve. I would love for them to make an Evil Dead game that's like modern, scary, bring back Bruce Campbell, because, you know, he might be done acting wise, but voice acting wise, he's good. Bring him back, make it third person, run around, kill deadites and shit, you know what I mean? Make it actually survival horror and shit, where like your chainsaw can run out of fucking gas, and it's like awesome. They already did like a homage to this with Resident Evil 7. That game proved you could do it. So why not make an Evil Dead single player around the Evil Dead mythos and just make it enjoyable, and then tack on multiplayer, see where it goes, and it's all good. You got the moolah rolling in. Horror couldn't be any more mainstream, especially with horror gaming. I just don't get it. It feels like easy problems have easy solutions, and Saber just never figured it out. And then the last bit, I guess this is a bonus, but the last bit where they are still trying to make updates to the community after these posts, and you know, they're talking about Bruce Campbell, talking about Stephen King saving Evil Dead 2. You know, interesting trivia. Talking about, you know, the October XP events. And when did they kill this game? Oh, last month. They're talking about this now. Let's take a look at the comments real quick. Stopped playing the game long ago. Dead game. Uninstalled the game since there's no more updates. Dead game. Do you last long in bed? Girl, do you last long in bed? Me, Evil Dead the game? Oh my god. Oh god, that killed the fuck out of me when I first saw it. Saber killed the game, so I made a video. That's not good. This is the only positive comment. Let's go. Is this game worth playing? Someone asking a question. More questions. This is insulting. Many people cared about this game and wanted nothing but the best for it, but you guys dropped it. Now you're trying to get people back into playing it with a lame XP event. What a joke. No one cares. I want a $40 fucking refund. More videos. It's not good. Angry. Is that Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver? I think it is. I know my movie history. I know that shit. So you see what most of the comments are. Like, it is disgruntled fans off the cusp of them canceling this game. Nobody cares what Saber's talking about right now. You might as well just make a new game. Because at this point, it's nothing but roast. These tattoos look cool, but I assume the comments are the same. Just pissed. It's just people pissed. No, it is people sharing their tattoos. Okay, so this one's quite a little bit more positive. All right. So they're trying that positive reinforcement, but definitely when it comes to updates on the game, after the fact, people are pissed off, and I really don't blame them. I was a champion for Evil Dead the game, and now this baby, you can stick a fork in this one, is done. I'll see you guys next time. Later.